Guys, what's going on? James here, and I'm actually really sick, so this is going to be a pretty short video. I kind of want to conserve my voice and not get worse. So, I still wanted to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win today versus the Carolina Panthers. They won 24-17, so let's talk about it. First thing that I wanted to talk about was the offense, kind of get that one out of the way. They did have their good moments, and they certainly had their very ineffective moments, but all things considered, I thought it was a very clean game from them. Obviously, no turnovers. Jameis Winston didn't have any interceptions, didn't have any fumbles. It was a really good game. He actually now holds the franchise record for most touchdown passes in Buccaneers history. He has 81. He holds the record over Josh Freeman, who had 80, so congratulations to Jameis Winston. That's actually a pretty cool thing. Mike Evans, he had his moments, but overall, Chris Godwin was kind of the star of this game. He had a couple of really nice catches, had some really nice runs after the catch, which was very nice to see indeed. So good for him. The offensive line was a little bit better in pass protection and whatnot. They were able to do an overall decent job. The run game did still leave a little bit more to be desired, but Carolina does have a good run defense. That was actually a very strong point for them in this game. So I'll let it slide for now. Ronald Jones came back and was overall ineffective in this game, but at the end it didn't really matter because this defense really carried the Bucs to a win. So the offense, while they were ineffective at times, they were able to overall do the job that they needed to do, and not giving away any turnovers. That was something that was a very nice thing to see, especially for the second game in a row by Jameis Winston. He's looking a whole heck of a lot better. Maybe that visor, a lot of you guys were telling me that the visor is a big reason why. Could be, who knows, but I'm liking this Jameis so far. He's doing some good things. It was a little bit disappointing because, geez, the referees they were all over the place, okay? They had some really bad calls against the Buccaneers, and they had some calls that did help out the Buccaneers to a certain degree. There was a lot of holdings, there was a lot of false starts and offsides and whatnot, and the refs, I've seen a lot of Bucs fans complaining about the refs in this game. I completely agree. There was one play in particular where Peyton Barber should have scored a touchdown. Like, it was very clearly either he scored a touchdown or he was on the 1-yard line, and they marked it as a fumble, and it stood even after it was reviewed, which I thought was stupid. I remember I was on Twitter. I was so mad. I think a lot of people were actually mad about that. So the referees were definitely a big obstacle in this game. I feel like referees in the NFL are just getting worse and worse as time goes on. I don't know what's going to need to change for that to get better, but man, it was very apparent. The Buccaneers, you know, while they did have a couple of calls that were nice going their way, they had a lot of calls in this game that just were not going their way at all. It almost seemed like the referees were trying to have the Panthers win. Now, I know that's not really true, but darn it, it felt like it. And obviously, the big thing that we're going to be talking about for the good portion of this video is going to be the defense. Cam Newton had 4 interceptions this game. The Buccaneers defense did not have 4 interceptions at all this season until this point. You know, they didn't have 4 interceptions the other 12 weeks, and now they had 4 in one game. That's incredible. Andrew Adams had 3 by himself. He deserves all of the love and respect by everybody. When I made the video talking about Andrew Adams when he first got signed, I didn't think he would have this big of an impact at the safety position. He's been making plays, not just in this game, but in prior games as well. I really hope that they re-sign him, not just, you know, he could provide something as a strong fringe starter-esque backup, not just for this season, but for the rest of the season as well, or for multiple seasons ahead as well. You know, Andrew Adams had a phenomenal game, 3 interceptions. We don't see that very often. Last time we saw that was in 2009 with Aqib Talib. So shout out to Andrew Adams. That was absolutely phenomenal. Elliott also had an interception, and that defensive line was just insane. They were making Cam Newton miserable. They were providing pressure. When they weren't providing pressure, they were sacking Cam Newton. I believe the defensive line finished with, I believe, 4 sacks in this game, that's pretty good. That's pretty much on par for the course of how a defensive line should usually do. So that was a very nice thing to see. Man, I thought that we were going to have a big problem with Cam scrambling and running around, and in some situations we did. The defensive line had a tough time chasing down Cam Newton, and it was sometimes up to the linebackers and the secondary to shove Cam Newton out of bounds whenever he would scramble. But overall, they did a very good job of not just pressuring Cam Newton, but also containing Cam Newton and limiting his ability to scramble around and run around. There was one play in particular. I was sick, so I took some medicine, and I fell asleep, and I woke up. And one of the first plays I saw when I turned on the game, like 19 minutes in, I looked, and Levante David came off the edge and stole Cam Newton's soul. that was amazing to see. Just me waking up, oh, I forgot the game's on, let me turn it on, and then Levante David just killing Cam Newton. I thought that was actually a pretty amazing thing to see. But yeah, like I said, defensive line did a phenomenal job. Really, the entire defense did a phenomenal job. I don't have many negative things to say about this defense. They forced turnovers, and they got us the win, basically, by getting so many turnovers. You can't complain. Yes, Christian McCaffrey did have his way with this defense again, but he always tends to do that. He's just kind of that kind of player where week in and week out he's going to do something that's pretty incredible regardless of what defense he's playing. So all things considered, we held him to 17 points. That's one of the best games this defense has played this season. This is probably the best game the Bucs defense has played this season, so it was a very good thing to see. And I gotta say it one more time, shout out to Andrew Adams. Cairo Santos made all of his kicks again. Cannot complain. I posted that poll. Do you guys think the kicking curse is over? I think more than half of you said yes, and a little bit less than half said it's too early to tell. Well, here's another game of Cairo Santos being consistent as can be, and it was very windy, and he was still able to make all of his kicks. I was very happy to see that. I'm sure all of you guys were as well. It was pretty wonderful to see. Cairo Santos is continuing to do some good things. The Buccaneers defense is continuing to it seems like they're improving week in and week out under Mark Duffner. It's funny, ever since Mike Smith left, this Bucs defense has been soaring. Now the offense, yes, while they have taken a little bit of a step back, they still are doing some things pretty well. They look kind of more of a middle-ish tiered offense now instead of a top-tier offense, which is fine. As long as the defense continues to improve and the special teams continues to improve as well, this is starting to look more like a complete team as the weeks progress. So I'm very interested to see how these final 5 games go. I'm actually very excited. Or is it 4 games? Yeah, I'm actually very excited to see how these final 4 games go. It should be very interesting. And actually, with this win, Dirk Cutter is now tied with Ray Perkins as the 5th most winning head coach in Buccaneers franchise history with 19 wins. And I know that's not exactly the most glamorous stat, but I would like to point out that Dirk Cutter, I believe he's 19-22 right now, which that's not bad at all. That you could do a lot worse. Just to put it in a little bit of perspective, Dirk Cutter now has as many wins as Greg Schiano and Lovie Smith did, the 2 coaches before him, combined. That's pretty ridiculous, man. That's actually pretty ridiculous. So congratulations to Dirk Cutter for becoming tied for the 5th most winning head coach of all time. Obviously, if he wins next week, he'll be in sole possession of the number 5 spot, and he has as many wins as both of his previous head coaching guys combined. So hey, at least we know that Dirk Cutter is for sure better than Greg Schiano and Lovie Smith combined, right? That's some pretty encouraging statistics, I guess. But guys, like I said, this is a very short video, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I want to know what you guys thought of this game down in the comment section below. What were you happy with? What were you not happy with? Who was your player of the game? It's Andrew Adams for me, obviously. I'm probably going to be doing another poll asking you guys who the player of the game was. It's going to be Andrew Adams probably 100% of the time. The dude's a beast, and I really hope we can actually retain him at the end of this season. Jason Licht, I know a lot of people crap on Jason Licht sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for not so good reasons, but Carl Nassib and Andrew Adams, those were both guys that Jason Licht brought in this season, and they have both been performing pretty darn well. I know Andrew Adams, this was kind of his breakout game in terms of interceptions, but he's also had himself a couple of nice pass deflections, and he's been pretty overall good in coverage in the run game and whatnot. I really hope that we re-sign Carl Nassib and Andrew Adams. I want them to be here for at least the next couple of years for sure. If not as potential fringe starters, as really solid backups. So, let me know what you think about all this down in the comment section below. I'm going to head out of here because my voice is starting to hurt. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which I don't know when that will be. I have to make sure I get better first. But until then, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.